Call the meeting to order, and we'll start with the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for a moment. Silence. At this time, I will nominate Sandy Bauer for temporary clerk. Janet Hilber is not here with us this evening. So Sandy Bauer will be. Please, Lieutenant, and
I'll second.
there you go.
Notice is hereby given that a public meeting of the Strafford County Delegation is scheduled for Wednesday, December 11th, 2024 at 7 p.m. This meeting will be held in the Jury Assembly Room, upper level 259 County Farm Road, Dover, New Hampshire, with public access available via Zoom to conduct the following business. Organization of the county delegation, nominations and elections of chairman, vice chairman, and clerk, and executive committee members. How documents will be delivered to delegation members, any other business which may legally come before the committee.
Thank you. Item 6. I open nomination for temporary chairman and recognize Representative Bixby.
I nominate Representative Peter Schmidt for the temporary chair.
Thank you. Is there a second? Representative Miller seconds. Any further nominations? Seeing none, nominations are closed. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Okay, so I will conduct the election for the permanent chairman for the next session. So I think at this point, we should have the caucus for the two sides to make your deliberations for. I think we should try to do it because to my knowledge, there are no contests for the officers from the Democratic side. So the Republicans will have to decide, if you haven't already, who your nominees will be for the three officers. And also, my understanding is that you've already had some deliberations with regard to who you want to have on the executive committee. So I think we can get it all done in 15 minutes.
Yep.
Okay, so please be back at 7:30. Thank you.
In here?
No, we don't need any of that. Return to recess, accept nominations for 2025-2026 delegation chairman and vote. So at this time, I call on Representative,
Kelly.
yes, I know. I used to calling you by your first name. Sorry, go ahead.
Thank you. I nominate Al Howland, Representative Al Howland from, who serves in the senatorial seat from Durham, Dover, Ward, Lee, and Madbury to be our chairman. I believe that, can I speak to my motion or no, not yet? I nominate him.
Second.
Okay, so are there further nominations?
I was gonna,
I'll
second the second or the third or whatever.
Republicans are not offering a nominee.
No, we're seconding.
All right, that's fine. So then,
Speak to the motion.
yes,
Thank you
please.
so much. So I'm nominating Representative Howland for a number of reasons, including the fact that he served on the Oyster River Cooperative School Board for 10 years. He served on the Durham Town Council for 6 years. He oversaw the construction of the Oyster River Middle School for its entire process. And so his knowledge of building practices, of how to navigate meetings and how to run meetings is admirable. And he's also the kind of person I think is easy to connect with and understand, and will work hard so that we can work collaboratively to get things done.
Further remarks from anyone else? Seeing none, there are no further nominations. I direct with the delegation's approval, the clerk to cast one ballot for Al Holland for the delegation chairman for 25-26. Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Nay. None, so the clerk is directed to cast one ballot for Al Holland.
I want to.
I'm keeping mine.
Thank you, and I guess the mini gavel shows since I'm a newbie. My goal honestly is to try to make our meetings run efficiently and smoothly. I think the other hope is that, we have a lot of challenges ahead of us. And so keeping the delegation in the loop so that we all know what's going on, so that when we come to a meeting and we're putting pressure on you to vote on really expensive things, that everybody has a clear idea of what's going on. We may not agree on everything, but the hope is that everybody at least has a common understanding of what we're working on. So with that,
Mr. Chair,
yes,
would it be out of order if I made a very short statement at this point?
no, go ahead.
Thank you. It is not true that Peter Schmidt has been chair of the delegation since Adam and Eve. There were a few others between Adam and Eve and Peter. But on behalf of the entire delegation, I would like to thank Peter for his consistent, focused, loyal, committed work in an area which many people do not necessarily think of as central to the operation of either the state or the county. And I think he deserves a thank you from all of us.
It's time for somebody else. Thank you all, and thank you all for being here.
All right, next up, I will entertain a motion for nominations for the vice chair.
I nominate, Jessica LaMontagne, Representative Jessica LaMontagne.
Representative Peter Bixby nominates Representative Jessica LaMontagne.
I second.
Seconded, the reason I'm repeating this is, Janet, it's not because I have dementia, it's because Janet Hilbert is trying to do the minutes. And so I'm gonna try to repeat the motion so she can pick them up. So the motion was seconded by Representative Schmidt. Are there any other nominees for vice chair? Representative Potenza?
Yes, so I'd like to nominate Representative David Walker.
Is there a second to that? Second by Representative Turcott. So since we have, let me start off. Would you like to speak to the nomination of, would anyone like to speak to the nomination of Representative LaMontagne?
Yeah, so,
Microphone.
Representative LaMontagne has been a very active part of the delegation and took an active part in the building committee last term and really worked to look towards a number of different avenues for getting more information and really went above and beyond the usual work that we do as delegation members. And I think that means that she would do a very good job in being the vice chair and supporting our new chair, Al Howland, and be able to jump in if Al is not available for some reason.
And would there be anyone who would like to speak to Representative Walker's nomination?
I'll speak to sorry. Who'd like to speak for my second?
Oh, I'm sorry, Representative Smith.
Thank you. In addition to concurring with what Representative Bixby has just said, I'd like to also highlight the fact that Representative LaMontagne has considerable experience in the building field. And I think that's something that we all care about, trying to do something about the nursing home situation. So her experience in that field, and she was also on the oversight committee that I established in the last term. So I think that's something that would enhance her viability in this capacity as well. So thank you very much.
Representative Potenza, I believe you were going to speak the nomination of Representative Walker.
Yeah, so there's a lot of people here that know David. He's been an integral part of the Rochester community for a very long time. And as a city council member, as a mayor, his mother was actually in Riverside Rest Home. He knows the inner workings of the city as well as his county better than anyone. He's become my good friend. He works very hard. He's definitely probably one of the most bipartisan people that I know. He always puts me in my place when I need it to. So I think he would be fantastic in this position. I'm very excited that he is a state representative. He's also a current city councilor right now. And he has the time and the wherewithal to do it. So.
Thank you. Okay, so I believe the standard procedure, since we have two people, we've had, our administrator has passed out your county delegation, so please print legibly who you're casting your vote for, and we can collect them and share them. And count them up.
Just want to make sure everybody's gotten one ballot.
Only one?
Please note there's a side to write on and a side not to.
When you're done, if you would just fold it in half and hand it to me, I'll come around and. My wife and I will come around and make that.
Mr. Chairman, how do I cast my vote?
That is a very good question.
How does Luz vote remotely?
The question is, how does Luz, who's remotely, vote on a secret ballot?
County attorney. They don't vote.
No, that's not right.
That's not correct.
That's not correct. Really? That's not our rule.
Yeah, Zoom has been.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know who
yeah.
she is.
Representative, Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't know what the legality, but the logistic piece on Zoom is that Luz can send a direct message to whoever is operating Zoom, and that person could take her vote.
Sounds like a reasonable solution.
Okay.
Sure. Just split screen. We do that.
Give our Zoom coordinator one ballot and do a completed on behalf of Representative Fay.
Extend your display. To put her in a different display of messages, otherwise it's gonna show for everybody. And it's gonna be recorded.
Yeah.
Oh, she can't send a private direct message?
It's still recorded.
Oh. Can you pause for?
So I'm sending a private direct message to Janet.
Before.
Second. 1 second.
Suggest that she sends something that's not her vote, so we can make sure it doesn't show up.
We will. 20 votes. LaMontagne. So Representative LaMontagne is our new. Now, get Representative Turcotte.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to put my objection on the record for the voting on Zoom, please.
Duly noted.
Thank you. I would like it in a minute.
Which brings us to our next item, which is the nomination of clerk. So I'll accept the nomination for clerk. Representative Howard.
I nominate Representative Lebeck.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Are there any other nominations for clerk? No, that makes it easy. Would anyone like to, Representative Howard, like to speak to your nomination?
Yes, as a fellow representative from Strafford Barrington, as a fellow representative from Strafford Barrington, over the past few years, Representative Lebeck has been a mentor and a leader, and has served as the clerk of the delegation for the past 2 years. I think that she's done a fantastic job, and we should renominate her for this position. Thank you.
Seeing as we only have one nominee for the clerk, I assume that we can go with a voice vote for the approval of Representative Lebeck as clerk.
Chair, you have to close the nomination.
Oh, I'm sorry, thank you. I close the nomination for the clerk, and with that,
Chairman, I have a motion.
Representative Schmidt.
So I move that the clerk be authorized to cast one ballot for Representative Lebeck for delegation.
So moved. Do I have a second to that? Second. And I guess that brings us this is my first time doing the intro one. A voice vote. All those in favor of Representative Lebeck as our clerk, say aye.
Aye.
Representative Lebeck is our new clerk. Which brings us to number 11, which is the authorization of the executive committee selection process. And so I was handed a sheet, and so the executive committee is broken up by the representation of each party in the delegation, and so that would mean that there are 6 Republicans that will be at large in the executive committee, and there are 6 Democrats that'll be in the executive committee. And then following precedent, what we've done, and there is a motion on it, the chair, the vice chair, and the clerk will become voting members of the county committee. And so therefore, the total on the committee will be 15, it will be 9 Democrats, 9 Republicans. Six, excuse me, my math is failing me. For a total of 15. In the past, there was a mechanism where the concern really was that all of the towns are represented. But I think the simplest thing, and since each of your caucuses have already decided, the Republicans, you guys have already decided your 6. The Democrats, you have already decided your 6. So the motion that we need is, are we okay with that as our process for selecting the executive committee? Now, take a motion.
So move.
Do I have a second on that? Second. So moved by Representative Smith, seconded by Representative Howard. I believe we can do a voice vote on that. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous, we move on. That moves us to number 12. I need a motion to approve, to allow the chair, the vice chair, and the clerk to be voting members on the executive committee. So moved.
Read the name.
No, this isn't that one.
I don't think so.
It's my position. So I move that the chair, the vice chair, and the clerk be voting members of the executive committee.
Moved by Representative Bixby, seconded by Representative Schmidt. Anyone speak to it otherwise? With that, I believe we can also do a voice vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? It's unanimous. Excuse me. Sorry, I jumped the gun. 1 nay. Thank you. Motion passes. We already, I believe, did the 15 minutes, and I think both sides have already agreed that they picked their candidates for the executive committee. So with that, I need the nominees from the Republicans for the executive committee. Representative Potenza.
Thank you. So the nominees for executive committee are Representative Susan DeRoy, myself, Representative Kelly Potenza, Representative Thomas Kaczynski, Representative Glenn Bailey, Representative Claudine Burnham, and Representative Michael Harrington.
Mr. Chairman, have you recognized?
Representative Schmidt?
So since there are a number of new people here tonight, we do not know everybody and we don't know them. We ask the Republican nominees for executive committee to stand. So, yeah, because the brand new people, can they identify themselves? But we don't know.
You're Middleton. Claudine Burnham, Middleton, Rochester, Ward 5.
Glenn Bailey, Bill Rochester, Ward 5.
Tom Kaczynski, District 5, Rochester.
Kelly Potenza, Strafford District 19 in Rochester, and then there's Representative Michael Harrington, who's from Strafford, and I'm forgetting what his district is. 18, thank you.
Thank you very much. Can we have the Democrats stand, identify themselves?
First of all, so I'll go with the motion. So the Democrat nominees for the executive committee are?
Yeah, we read it.
So, Democratic nominees for executive committee.
Oh, the Mike.
Democratic nominees for executive committee are Tim Horrigan, Tom Southworth, Hugh Howard, Peter Schmidt, Janet Wall, and Amy Malone.
Please stand.
Peter Schmidt, Dover Ward 1.
Amy Malone, Rochester District 9.
MP.
Oregon Strafford 10, which is just the town of Durham.
Tom Southworth, Stratford 11, Dover Ward 4, Lee and Manbury.
Hugh Howard, Stratford 4, Stratford American.
Janet Wall, Lee, number in Dover Ward 4.
All right, that's it. So I need a motion to approve Representative DeRoy, Potenza, Kaczynski, Bailey, Burnham, Harrington, Oregon, Wall, Southworth, Howard, Malone, and Schmidt for the executive committee.
So moved.
Moved by Representative Selig, seconded by Representative Johnson. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Next, we recognize the county commissioner chair to speak and introduce the commissioners and elected officials.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You want to use the mic?
Yeah.
Everybody hear me?
Oh,
yeah, okay. Good evening. So, my pleasure to introduce to you the upcoming county elected officials who are here present for the 25-26 term. We have our county attorney who just recently re-elected, Emily Garrett. Thank you for calling. Where's your children anyway now? Okay. We've got our newly elected sheriff, first female sheriff of Strafford County in history, Catherine Moan. Behind me, we've got two new county commissioners. Mr. Petrie, Joe Petrie is a former state representative, most of you, the veterans know. And Sean Levitt from Dover, sitting over here. Log returning, of course, is Commissioner Watson and Commissioner Roll, sitting over there. So, to let you all know, the county officials don't get sworn in until January 8th by state statute. We are required to present a budget and get a budget in your hands prior to the 15th. The county commissioners are, January 15th. County commissioners are working on that budget at present. And we have invited in the newly elected representatives as well, elected county officials to deal with the budget, so they know that as well. So Petrie and Mr. Levitt have been part of our deliberations as we're working on that proposed budget. They have to be sent to you folks by January 15th, and you will receive it by that date.
Thank you very much. All right, that moves us on to the nuts and bolts, which is how you guys, can get your documents delivered to you. And I think at the last executive, committee meeting, Representative Burnham had an excellent point about, documents. I don't mean to put you on the spot. Would you like to speak to that, Representative Burnham?
Sure, thank you. Yes, thank you. Thank you. So I just thought that we can adopt pretty much what we do at the state, where you can opt out of receiving, physical documents by mail, since we do get them by email, so you do have time to preview them electronically. And then we obviously have a physical copy here, so it kind of helps to relieve some of that paper supply that we tend to get mailed at home. And I'm all about cutting costs, so if we can cut that shipping cost, that would be great, thank you.
Thank you very much, and well spoken. We really, if anyone who's been in either county or municipal or state government knows that over time you collect a stunning amount of paper, particularly the budget, you're gonna get a big spreadsheet. And if you're old school, and I Representative Harrington spoke to that, he really likes to pull the spreadsheet out and work on it. That's great, but if you can work electronically, it will save the county money in terms of printing and mailing, and so we really would like the option to not do that if you like. I can ask the county administrator, what is the best way for us to reach out and say how exactly we want our information to be spread?
I think you have a document in front of you that you fill out.
Representative Potenza.
So when I read this document, the only problem here is it says, and I being part of the opt-out, it says of receiving non-notice documents via the United States Postal Service and will retrieve them from the Strafford County website. We would have to have these emailed, notices would.
That's fine, I'm happy to email.
Okay. Yeah, I assume that if we check off that, of course, we'll get notice documents via email and then they would be attached, right?
That's correct. We have to, by state statute, send you in the mail the notice of the meeting, but we don't have to send you any attachments. We can send another notice via email with all the attachments.
Okay.
I'd love it if somebody, changed the law that allows us to do it all by email, but we have to send you a notice based on the state statute.
Okay.
But we could save all that other paperwork and all that other mailing expense and all that photocopy expense, not to mention the time, remembering that we just have Janet. So it's one person putting all this together.
Yeah, because right now I'm getting stuff via mail and getting electronic. So clicking on this, I don't have to get any more mail and I can just get it electronically.
Right, you'll just get the mail, you'll just get the one-page notice.
Okay,
Meeting notice.
okay.
That's the only thing that you'll get. So,
Representative Bixby.
Yeah, so, currently, I believe that the county attorney sent us a quotation of the relevant statutes. And in that, the statute related to the meeting notice does say that it has to be by mail, not simply by distributor. So if we want to change that, then for next year, when the filing period comes around, we can put in a bill to allow meeting notices to be done electronically as well. But it's too late to file that this term.
Actually, we can have Senator Gray file that for us, the senators in the wild west.
Thank you. One last thing I'll say, while you're filling out the paperwork, if you have, making sure that Janet is able to contact you would be great. So make sure that she has your email as well as your phone number, just so they can get a hold of you. It'll make her life easier. Thank you. All right, I think that brings us then, we're to item 19, which is any other business which may legally So that moves us to item 19, which is any other business may be legally, come before the delegation at this time, and I believe Representative, Southwood has.
You remember me?
Yes.
Yes, so I would like to make a motion, and then later speak to my motion. Some of you heard this before, earlier in the year. This is about our use of Zoom. And, many of you, and I'm wondering if we should send it again, we did receive last year in January 26th, a legal opinion from our county attorney about the use of Zoom. It did say that we could use it based on past precedents set by our past practices.
Stop for 1 second, because you're
Okay,
making a motion.
I'm doing a preamble to my motion.
Yeah,
You're
do the motion, we'll do the second. then-
I'll do that, yes, that's correct. Starting over again, my motion is to continue the practice of allowing Strafford County delegation members to participate and vote in meetings remotely in accordance with RSA 91A, Roman numeral 3. The member will state their location, other persons present, and a brief reason like illness, out of town, etc., for not attending the meeting in person. The chair of the delegation will determine whether the reason for remote use is acceptable.
Do I have a second to that motion? Seconded by Representative Selig. Representative Southwood,
Yes.
now you can speak.
Now I can do my preamble. So again, we did get a letter from our county attorney, a legal opinion on remote use. And it did say that we can do it because of a precedent set by our past practices in Strafford County. She also said on page 2 that she thought it would be a good idea to each term or every 2 years to have a formal vote on that. We don't have to. We can use Zoom like we started tonight, but I agreed that that was a good idea. Then it's fresh in everyone's mind, what we can do, what we can't do, and what the process is. And so again, I worked on this motion with her, and there was a snafu when it was presented earlier in the year. But I wanted to bring it up now so that we're clear when we start in 2025, what the process is.
Is there anyone else, I'm sure there is, would like to speak to that motion?
Do I get to speak to my second?
Representative Selig.
Thank you, sorry. Part of why I seconded this motion is I know that we meet year round, not just during the time that the regular legislature is in session. There are times when many of us either need to travel for work or have had illnesses. We know that we're coming into cold and flu season yet again, and giving people the opportunity to not infect the rest of us, but still be able to participate in doing our due diligence is important.
Anyone else would like to speak to the motion? Representative Turcott.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to put forward an amendment.
Please.
I passed these out. There's going to be one slight change. I will read. If you look on where it says clean copy without changes noted above, there are 2 places in there where it says not reasonably practical. The nots will be struck. So I'm going to read what the amendment, and then I'll ask for a second. Any delegation member not physically present will state their location, other persons present, and a brief reason why the absent member believes the absence should be deemed reasonably practical. The delegation shall vote to determine and affirm whether the reason for the remote use is deemed reasonably practical. The result of such vote, along with the reason for the absence, shall be recorded in the minutes of the meeting.
Do I have a second to that motion?
Second.
Seconded by Representative Branger. Would you like to speak to it?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The reason I put forward the change is if we're going to actually allow or confer our approval of voting by Zoom, I think we need to have it, a few minor changes. One of them is we need to use language that is similar to the RSAs. That's why I've included the words reasonably practical in the RSAs. It talks about the person being deemed not reasonably practical. The second reason for the change is it removes the decision making from a single individual, and that would be you, Mr. Chair. not because we don't trust your judgment, but I think it's better to have the entire body vote on whether or not the issue is practical or not. It avoids the potential for favoritism, it removes the potential for political affiliation, but above all, what we're doing is we create a record of what has been deemed not reasonably practical for future instances, so we don't have to keep going over them. In the original motion, it talks, it said something to the effect of other person's presence and a brief reason, parentheses, illness, out of town, et cetera. When you start putting individual reasons in there, the et cetera is also suggesting there may or may not be more. It's not the proper way that we should be doing that. So that's the reasons for my recommended amendment. Thank you.
Is there anybody else who would like to speak to Representative Turcotte's amendment?
Yes, I actually like much of the amendment, but I think there's a little confusion here. When the reasonably practical has to do with, that it is not reasonably practical for the person to appear in person. And, the original language that Representative Turcotte, presented, seemed to have reversed that. And it's a little confusing. So removing the word not alone, I don't think solves the problem. I think you have to add seems, should be deemed, his absence should be deemed reasonably practical. And doing it that way answers the question. So, I'm sorry, I'm not doing this well, because it is, it's a double negative. But in fact, I think that it's important to say that make it clear that it's the reason for being absent is reasonably practical, not the reason for not being absent. That's well, that with the, yes. Yes, no, yeah, yep. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Is there anyone else who'd like to speak to Representative Turcotte's amendment? Representative Solomon?
Yes, thank you for providing that. My intention is that in fact the chair does have the legal opinion, which really has a paragraph spelling out just the definition you're looking for. So he has that. And when I say the remote use is acceptable, I'm including really that paragraph that he will be following, that you're including in your amendment. The only other thing I'd say, I know we do one amendment at a time, is depending what happens with that amendment, I'd be willing to do amendment that just crosses out the parentheses after brief reason. Because I understand that the et cetera, I know some people weren't quite understanding before, so I put in some samples, but I do think it might be better to have no samples. But otherwise, that's my comment.
Would anyone else like to speak to Representative Turcotte's amendment? Representative Lamontagne?
Yes, I'm not in favor of the amendment. I think having to vote as a whole delegation over every remote participation is really unnecessary in keeping us from doing the business that the delegation is really here to do. I think we can trust the role of the chair to make this determination. But each absence and the reason why they're absent participating remotely could be recorded in the minutes without a vote.
Would anyone else like to speak? Representative Bailey?
It seems a little peculiar to be planning on so many absences that explaining them would be cumbersome.
Would anyone else like to speak to Representative Turcotte's motion? Right, as the last person to speak, my personal feeling is we don't have many meetings here at the delegation. It is, I would, if all humanly possible, like people to come to the meetings. I think meetings work far better if you are here rather than remotely. That said, unfortunately, we ask a lot of people for $100 a year. And there are people who do have jobs and they can't make it. And we have an example that's traveling. And I think, I just had a meeting this week, a housing meeting, and a banker who was really fundamental to the financing had to do it remotely, and it really added a lot to the conversation. That's my hope. And so I am not in favor of the amendment. I think that we can get through this very quickly as we do the roll call very early, get this out of the way, why you weren't here, and move on and get to our business. And so with that, if there are no more, Representative Wall.
Thank you. I agree with you and Representative Lamontagne. We don't meet that often, and it's very, very important that we see each other in person and talk with each other in person. If someone's ill or has to be away, I understand that. But we could very well end up having more people away than here, and I don't think that's really productive. I think it's very important that we're here knowing each other. We interact much more quickly with each other when we understand the body language. People can nod to each other or say no, that sort of thing. Communication works much better in person, so I cannot support the amendment. Thank you.
Representative Smith.
I believe the statute already requires a physical quorum of the delegation in order for that to be acceptable. If we had a whole bunch of people who were absent, you might well, probably will not have a physical quorum, and then that person, then you don't have a quorum if you don't have a physical quorum. Yes, I believe the statute already has it.
Representative Howard.
Thank you. I just wanted to speak to the fact that myself and another representative got nominated late last year to substitute essentially on the General Government Committee because we couldn't actually get a quorum since people were not able to show up. So it allows us to actually have these meetings and have a quorum, even if people on either side of the aisle can't attend. Thank you.
Representative Smith?
Representative Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm a little confused because I'm listening to what people are saying, and what they're saying is in effect supporting this amendment. What they are saying is we ought, and this is from someone who basically does not come to these meetings. Let's be clear about that. I don't come to most meetings, but I also don't vote. I don't participate in Zoom. I just don't come if I'm not coming. And it's important, I think, to make clear that it affects the entire delegation, whether people are here or not. And it should be something that is on record. And it shouldn't be the chair who has to play whatever role it is. It should be the whole delegation, which might actually even convince people like me to show up more. I don't know. I'm not making any promises. I'm not making any promises. But the whole point is what we want to do is keep down the number of people who are participating in abstention. And what this does is say that it affects the entire delegation and the delegation should agree. And I don't imagine that anyone is going to be irresponsible in saying this person is traveling or is away, and therefore we will not permit them to participate. We're just putting people on record, and that's the way it should be. And people work better when they're looking at each other.
Is there anybody else who would like to speak?
Ditto.
All right, with that, I assume I'm not as skilled as a speaker in conference, so I think we should probably have a roll call on this. I'll have Representative Levack call the roll.
On the amendment.
On Representative Turcotte's amendment.
Dinkelberg,
Yes.
Bailey,
Aye.
Fang,
No.
Bixby,
No.
Burnham. Yes. Burton.
No.
Loomis.
Yes.
DeRoy.
Yes.
England.
No.
Barrington.
Yes.
Granger.
Aye.
Hall.
Aye.
Corrigan.
No.
Howard.
No.
Johnson.
No.
Kaczynski.
Yes.
Lamontaine. No. La Rochelle.
Yes.
Clerk votes no. Malone.
No.
Miller.
No.
Tenza.
Yes.
Schmidt.
No.
Sully.
No.
Jeff Smith.
No.
Marjorie Smith.
Yes.
Southward.
No.
Stone.
No.
Turcott.
Yes.
Wade.
No.
Walker.
Yes.
Wall.
No.
Helen.
No.
So it is 19 no's, 14 yes, amendment fails. Which brings us back up to, there, yes, excuse me, Representative Turcott.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to put on the record my opposition to the voting by Zoom and make sure it's included in the minutes.
Will be done. Representative, so that, which brings us then back to the original motion, which is Representative Southworth's motion. Representative Southworth, did you want to make an amendment to your motion?
Yes, I don't want to take up extra time, but I did agree with not having reasons in parentheses. I think we can discuss them, but it probably wasn't right to have them in the motion. So I would make the amendment of deleting parentheses, illness, out of town, et cetera, close parentheses.
And having seconded the motion, I'll second the change.
Is there anyone who would like to speak to Representative Southworth's amendment to his motion? With that, then I will have the clerk again call the vote on Representative Southworth's amendment.
The amendment to the motion, not the motion itself.
This is the Representative Southworth's amendment to his motion, which
Take out
changed.
illness out of town.
Exactly. I assume we're gonna want to.
Could that be a voice vote?
Yeah.
Are people agreeable to a voice vote?
Yes. Without objection?
All right, with that said, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay.
The amendment passes, which brings us back up to Representative Southworth's amended motion.
Original, yes, I mean,
Amended motion, so Representative Smith. It's very sad, I don't know.
I'm concerned about this language because what it says, oh, I see, okay, I'm sorry, okay, I apologize, this is fine. I mean, it's not fun, but it's.
Okay, which brings us back up, again, it's a little bit more controversial. Would you like a roll call vote on this, or?
Definitely.
Okay, so I'll have the clerk call the vote.
Anchorberg.
No.
Bailey.
Hey.
Fay.
Yes.
Bixby.
Yes.
Burnham.
No.
Burton,
Yes.
Loomis. No. DeRoy. No. England,
Yes.
Barrington. Granger,
Aye.
Hall,
Okay.
Corrigan,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Howland,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Kaczynski,
No.
Lamontaine. Yes. La Rochelle,
Yes.
clerk votes yes. Malone. Yes. Miller,
Yes.
Tenza,
No.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Selig,
Yes.
Jeff Smith,
Yes.
Marjorie Smith,
Yes.
Southworth,
Yes.
Stone,
Yes.
Turcott,
No.
Wade,
Yes.
Walker,
No.
Wall.
She called him.
That was my mistake, I called him.
So the motion passes, 21 yeses, 11 noes. Representative Southworth's amended, motion passed. That brings us on to anything else. Excuse me, Representative Turcott, sorry.
I'd like to put my objection to the Zoom voting on the record and have that included in the minutes, please.
Well, the Representative Howard. We say 19, 21, 11, how are we short?
You short my one?
The amended, the catch, the amended is, motion passes 21-12. Representative Schmidt.
So, those of us who were there, got sworn in, that's everybody, since everybody is currently in office. Would recall the announcement from the House Clerk that, Representative-elect, Evans?
Yeah.
Yeah. Declared at that time that she was not accepting, remember? She was not accepting, the office. So that means that one of the Somersworth reps, did not get sworn in because she declined the office. Okay, so I'm just asking if the county can notify all of us, when the vote is the
Special election.
special election is put on record, for Somersworth, so we're all notified because it affects delegation, the membership of the delegation.
Are there any other, things to add, any other on the agenda? All right, so the one thing I'll add on here, you got a mix, excuse me, Representative Selig.
Thank you so much. I just want to make sure we thank our outgoing members of the delegation, both those who chose not to run again or who didn't get reelected, and thank them for their service. Thank you.
I'm gonna be swimming in paper up here, so I wanna make sure you get this one too. So part of the budget process is that we break the delegation up into subcommittees. And there's a sheet that you have here, which is Strafford Delegation, subcommittees. It says what the committee is, it asks you to put your name, and then it has you rank your choices, and you have anything special you'd like to do. Please fill this out. It'll allow me to put you where you would like to be. And with that, I'd like to also bring up there, I think there are about 12 of us who are new to the delegation. This may be your first time ever doing a county budget. It differs from the school budget, it differs from the municipal budgets. So it's important to have an understanding of what the role and responsibility of the county commissioners are, what the delegation is, what we do, how the budget works, if there's changes to the budget, if there's bonding that happens. So I'm gonna call that simply like budgeting 101. I think it's really important before we hand you a big block of spreadsheets that you have an understanding of how it works, and maybe give you a little update on, since we bonded 5.1 million, I think it was, in capital improvement. You have a little bit of an idea about what our capital improvement program is, and I think our county administrator brought up a really good point that you could also, what's an introduction without a tour? There's a potential to get a tour of the nursing home and also the jail, and so I'm gonna talk with them about setting up something for the new people before you get your budget. It will be in January, so since you've given us your mail, we will send something out to block off some time so you get caught up. And I think that is everything from my standpoint. Is there anything else? Why don't you pass all the paperwork out this way? Anything else? I will entertain a motion here, Representative Granger. Made by Representative Granger, seconded by Representative Miller, and all those in favor? All opposed? Thank you.